Mitch Ribak, welcome.
Thank you. How you doing?
Man, it's just I'm really really excited about sharing your story with our audience. It's just listening to you 3 4 days ago about how you went from 120 130 agents to over 600 agents in less than a year and a half. It's just mind blowing. I mean, it's if you're a real estate broker, if you're watching this as a real estate broker, you know how difficult it is to retain, to recruit, to retain, but even more important, to scale your business. So I'm thrilled to be here with you and my brother Daniel, the co-founder of the Mondial organization, to
Good
understand
morning, Mitch.
exactly.
Morning, buddy. How you doing?
Thank you for taking the time for this interview,
Thank
Mitch.
you, man. Thank
Of
you.
course. What else?
I'm
am I
really
doing?
excited
I just eat
for you to
bonbons all
share.
day, so.
I'm saying that again.
I said I just eat bonbons all day. I have nothing else to do.
There you go. So Mitch, before we go into how you went from 120, 130 agents to over 600 agents in less than 18 months, tell us a little bit about yourself. You know how you got involved in real estate, etc.
Sure. I'll keep it really, really brief because
Sure.
I could talk for about 4 hours on it. Chronic entrepreneur. I've owned 22 companies in the past 40 years. Multiple industries. I was the second or third paintball business in the country back in the 80s. I was the first online dating service. I had an ad agency. I had a marketing company. I had a restaurant. I had a flower business. I mean, pretty much everything. In 2000, I was part of the internet bubble. I was 2 months away from retiring, and I lost $80 million. It was a really bad day, actually a bad 3 days. And then what do you do when you're an entrepreneur? You just pick your butt up and get back to work, right? And everybody told me I'd be good in real estate. I'm like, I don't want to do real estate. And then I got my license, and I thought it was really easy. I sold my first house my first week. I sold 36 my first year. I was like, and I didn't have a circle of influence. I didn't know anybody here but my girlfriend, who's now my wife. And 50 my second year, 80 my third year, 80 my fourth year, and started my brokerage. And I grew the brokerage to about 120 agents. And after 13 years, realized there's no escape from the brokerage. It's like Escape from LA, the movie. You just don't escape alive.
No escapement.
What was the name of the company and how many agents do you have in that company?
So it was Tropical Realty Beachside was the name of the company. And we got up to 120 and then I went to sell the company. And that's a whole other joke that you can't actually sell a real estate company. You can, but their terms are stupid.
Yeah.
And I can't say publicly what I said out loud because I don't like to swear on camera. In case they ever run for politics, they'll hold it against me.
Right.
And so I had to figure out what to do. So I immediately, with 120 agents, I fired 50 agents instantly. Like within 2 weeks, I got rid of 50, went down to 65 agents, got my overhead from $100,000 a month, which is ridiculously stupid, down to $65,000 a month. And then try to figure out what I was going to do the rest of my life. Because I really wasn't enjoying running the brokerage, like being the broker, like being the guy. But as far as, put it this way, I mean, I'll talk numbers because I'm a numbers guy. My best year ever with 120 agents and 700 transactions, I made $200,000. Woo!
By the way, Mitch, that is a huge accomplishment. After 22 years in this business and coaching over 8,500 agents, Daniel and I, and many brokers, $200, netting $200 in a year is a huge accomplishment.
Oh, I know. Trust me. But I made more selling houses.
All right, exactly.
So the joke is, here's the joke on real estate. And, I'm lucky I come from a business background all these years. But for brokers, for realtors, we go to real estate school and they tell you, look, become a realtor, become successful, and then start a team. Then you can turn your team into a brokerage, and you can be the guy. Yes, and everybody's going to be just like you and going to work really, really hard. Yeah, right. And that's the problem is everybody does it. When you're successful, you don't understand that other people don't want to be successful for whatever reason. They want this, working this.
Right.
I'm going to figure it. So I actually have a class, which I'm doing a webinar next week on, called How to Make $100,000 a Year Working 4 hours a day.
Okay. Oh, so I want to join that class.
I'll send you the link.
Please. So here's the thing, Mitch, for most brokers that are watching this right now, they feel the pain. Daniel and I were brokers in the 90s, and we said, listen, this is not the way to make money. When I said it's a huge accomplishment, $200,000 in terms of money, but you know how much you have not only to work, sacrifice, and suffer to make those $200,000. There are many easier ways to make $200,000.
Yeah, 80 to 100 hours a week, 15 plus calls every day. And it wasn't, how do I build my business? It was, this realtor yelled at me. I don't like the other realtor. You know, it's all, I shouldn't make fun of it. But it was just drama, and I don't do drama. I mean, it's just, even my wife, we have an understanding, like, you can talk drama to me. It's going to go in this ear and out that ear, because I don't do drama with anybody. If you come to me with a problem and you don't have a solution, I don't want to have a conversation about it.
Right. Listen, it's like owning a brokerage is like owning a daycare. Where you're taking care of all the little issues the new agents have, and you as a broker, you know that, you feel that pain, and you know that your job, your problem, every broker problem, it's number one, recruiting, which is not that easy. Number two, even more difficult, retaining. And the most difficult part, which is why we become broker at a certain point, which is scaling, which almost no broker can do just by the simple fact that they have a physical space. You can't go further than where you are. And within your area, you have many other companies, meaning a lot of competition. Actually, the tipping point is about 120 to 180 agents. I haven't seen an office with 500, 600 agents. It's impossible because of the physical location limitation.
Yeah, well, that was, you know, my original goal when I started my brokerage, because I was, you know, in my early 40s. I'm like, all right, I'm going to build Tropical Realties all the way from Brevard County, Florida, Cocoa Beach area, all the way around down to Miami, all the way up the coast, all the way to California, right? And I'll have Tropical Realties, I'll open 100 offices. And then I started running my brokerage. I'm like, holy crap, there's no way in hell I'm doing that. And thank God I didn't go that road.
Talk to me about the printers, the offices.
I want the audience to understand. So you talk about the drama with 120 agents. So how is the drama right now with more than 600 agents that you have?
All right.
And explain to us before that how you got to 600 agents and the model you're using right now.
Okay, yeah. So I had to make a decision with what I was going to do with the company. Again, I'm a businessman, right? So real estate is just another business that I've owned. And the reality is, when I realized it wasn't scalable, it wasn't sellable, and I couldn't make any real money, retirement money, I had to figure out something. So I had been researching the EXP model for probably a year and a half at that point. I met with Jason Gessing, the CEO, a couple of times, but I couldn't get my head around it. And so I flew up again because I really liked the model. I loved the model. I just couldn't get, you know, the ego was in the way. That was probably the biggest blocker.
Exactly. What was your biggest fear at that time?
Well, I'm giving up everything I built, right? And you know, I built Tropical Realty in this very well-known name. You know, I'm the guy, right? I like being. I'm only 5'6". I like being the guy. So I flew up to New York, met with Jason Gessing again. I think this was our fourth meeting. In fact, I heard later on he didn't really want to meet with me because he knew I wasn't going to do it. And I said, Jason, the one problem I have is that I'm Tropical Realty. That's who I am. He goes, well, you can still be Tropical Realty. Just be Tropical Realty brokered by EXP. I'm like, I wish you told me that 2 years ago, because I probably would have joined 2 years ago. So that was what happened for me. And at the time, I owned another company called Inside Sales Agents. We did internet lead conversion for about 165 different brokerages in North America. And so I didn't grow EXP a lot the first year and a half. I probably went up to about, back up to about 120 agents or so, maybe 150 agents. And then, unfortunately, the ISA company, we couldn't really compete with the Philippines, and the outsourcing, they just undercut us so much in price that we closed that company in 2018. And since then, I hit 620 agents yesterday.
Okay, so from 120, 130 agents to 620. Let me ask you, so one thing that Daniel and I liked a lot about you, that is you're an open book.
Right.
So in terms of money, financial, how much that represents to you in a monthly and a yearly basis?
Yeah, so yearly, I don't look at monthly because monthlies fluctuate. I look at yearly.
Right.
Yearly, based on what I am today, over the next 12 months, should equal somewhere about 450 plus.
So 450, that's more than twice as much as you did in your best year as a real estate broker. Now, let's compare apples and apples, right? You make $200,000. Now you're making more than twice as much, but what's your liability? What's your overhead? What's your reach? Do you have people outside your area, agents?
Yeah, so my overhead, besides the salaries that I pay me and my partner, because those aren't really overhead, right? Because it's just our money, right. Is about 60 grand a year.
Okay.
Yeah, about 5,000, 6,000 a month. And I get about 5 calls a week now instead of 15 calls a day. I work 40 hours a week. I've never worked 40 hours a week. It's like vacation every day.
Right.
You know, I come in when I feel like it would. But like, I was here at 6:30 this morning because I'm still kind of a workaholic in my 40 hours. But what I realized, and hopefully people out there will listen to this, don't let life pass you by. Before you live, you'll probably die.
Yeah.
I wrote that when I was 16 years old, by the way.
Right.
And I've lived by that, except I didn't.
Right.
I mean, that was my goal in my life, but I didn't do that. And now, cutting back to 40 hours a week with no stress. I don't work weekends. I usually am out of here by 4. You know, and when I say 40 hours, it's not a hard working 40 hours. You know, we talk about recruiting. I spend 1 to 2 hours a week doing that.
Okay.
I do a lot of calls. Like we did a call with a gentleman the other day, right?
Right.
I do a lot of those. I do about 15 hours a week of those for other people. But for me personally, and here's the magic of the model. This is what intrigued me so much. And by the way, KW offered me a check for $600,000 cash to not do EXP right, before I switched. They're like, we'll give you this. We'll give you 10% of the company. I'm like, apples to apples. There was no comparison. Right. But the beauty is I have 40 people that are directly under me, right? Those 40 people turned into 620. I didn't recruit 620 people.
Okay.
I don't know 75% of the people that I get a paycheck from every month. It's called leverage. You cannot leverage a real estate brokerage, right?
That's it. Period.
I'm in 28 states right now. I think someone told me I'm in 31, but I haven't checked. But I'll stick to what I know. I'm in 28 states with 620 agents, and I make about $800 an agent per year. Do the math. So to me, once I was able to get rid of my ego, which is hard, I was able to actually move forward into this.
Yep.
How many agents did you lose in that transition, Mitch?
So we had 65 when we were getting ready to make the move. I lost 25. 19. Remember, nobody had ever heard of EXP. There was no EXP here. There was only 50 agents in the whole state of Florida. There was only 5 agents in Orlando, and 0 here in Brevard County.
So hold on a second. You joined EXP with 40 agents.
Well, yeah, but we set it up differently. So it's a little more complicated than that because of the revenue, but I only put 20 people under me.
Okay.
20 went under. And, over the years, so the original 40 we came up with, 36 is still with me.
All right.
So we had to set things up, structure. And again, if you're a broker, then you want to have a conversation about how to structure. It's a whole different conversation. It's not this conversation here.
Right.
But, so I think that says a lot about the company that the original 36 is still with me. They came over because of me.
Right.
They stayed because of EXP.
They came over because of you and they stayed because of EXP. And the reason is because I was assuming you had 130, but the fact is 3 years ago, you have about 40. Right. So in 3 years, even though you really started doing this a year and a half ago, growing your team, you actually joined with 30 something agents, let's say 40 agents. And 3 years later, you have over 620.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy. It's crazy. And the cool thing about it is when you're a broker and there's no exit strategy, you think you're going to sell your product until you actually sit down with the company. Century 21 and Remax both offered me $3.5 million, but their terms are so stupid. They weren't offering me anything, and they know that. Right. Everything's basically 100% based on the retention of the original agents over a 3-year period. Yeah. So I said to them, and I won't say it the way I said it, but I said, so let me get this straight. So I bring my 120 agents to Century 21, and you guys completely suck. And 50% of my agents leave. My 3.5 goes to 1.75. They said, yes. That's the stupidest friggin' thing I've ever heard in my life. Right. Why would I do it? I literally walked up and walked out of the room. Yeah. That's when the whole EXP thing. So it wasn't on my radar to do this. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how much it's changed my life. I have a life. Yeah. Didn't have a life before. For 13 years, I didn't have a life. Now I literally, I wake up in the morning, a big smile on my face, walk around and have a big smile. I always smile anyways. But my point is I spend so much time with my grandkids. I missed my kids growing up. So when I talk to young people who are doing 80 to 100 hours a week, you are missing the most important part of your life because you think the buck is everything. And you can lose money like that. I lost $80 million in less than 2 weeks, right? So to me, money is nice. And I mean, I always tell people I'd rather be miserable rich than poor, but you know, you still have to have that balance, and that's why I try to teach realtors now how to have that balance by not working, like literally working 20 hours a week. You can make $100,000 a year.
Daniel, you have a question?
So do you think you are providing a better opportunity for your agents as a broker?
So when I went back and took a look at what I was doing, great question, by the way. When I went and took a look back, I was said to myself, and my agents, by the way, I have agents that have been with me since day one, since the day I started my team in 2004. And I said, what were they going to get if I went to sell the company? They're getting absolutely nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt really guilty about that. Now I have agents. I'll give you one quick story, and because I only got a couple of minutes left here.
No, please.
One of my agents came to me in January 2017, Katie O'Brien, and she said, I'm really upset. She goes, I don't know what to do. My daughter's going to college in September 2018, and I have no idea how I'm going to pay for college. Katie's a single mom. She makes about 60, 70 grand a year selling real estate. So, and I said, well, and my only solution as a broker was what? Sell more homes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
When
we switched over in June, I said, Katie, here's your opportunity. So she actually listened, which is awesome. I love when people listen to me. So I hope you guys are listening out there. And so in September 2018, she had introduced 7 people to the company. One of them was a team of 10. So she makes between $1,500 and $2,000 almost every month, and has changed her life. It pays for college. So EXP is paying for her college for helping her grow EXP, right? Now, the cool number of that, check this out. This is what I found really interesting. For her to make $2,000 a month, she would have to have $480,000. Remember, passive, right? She'd have to have $480,000 in the bank at 5%. I can guarantee you there's almost no broker out there right now that's listed as, never mind a realtor, that has $480,000 sitting in their bank account. Yep. Life-changing. We changed her life. And I hear those stories. I had an agent the other day. She introduced somebody recently, and she said, she's like, I got $712 in my bank account. What's that from? I go, well, you introduced Denise, and she had her first sale. She goes, that's awesome.
Right. Now, well, question, you have a model that you explain. If you introduce 6 people and those people introduce another, one person, and then you make $3,000. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so if you introduce 2 people a year over the next 3 years, and those
2 people a year.
2 people a year.
Okay.
Yeah, and anybody can do this, by the way. This is the easiest thing in the world to do. Right. It's not, I hate to use the word recruiting because I don't recruit. I mean, I talk to people I know and say, hey, you should check this out. You want to check it? Great. If you like it, great. If you don't like it,
yeah, and actually, do you push your agents to recruit?
Well, I help them if they want to, but I don't care if they don't want to.
Exactly.
Most of my agents don't. I mean, I have 5 people in my whole organization that actually do a great job of it. It's anybody can. So you can be like Katie and make a couple $1,000s a month. You can be like the girl that made $700 a month. Or you can be like me and make stupid money a month. Right? So if you introduce 2 people a year over the next 3 years, and those people all introduce just 1 person, right? That's up to $36,000 a year in referral fees.
That's $3,000 a month in referral fees.
Right. So when
changing for even for me, because it's passive income.
It's passive income, yeah.
So one thing, so I work with a lot of investors. I used to, and they'll finance the house, and they'll make about $200 a month net on the house, right? That they're buying. And so I was talking to an investment friend who just joined us recently, and I said to him, I said, look, the amount of work that you do for that house, the amount of debt that you have, right, with no guarantee that house is going to go up in value. We all lived through the mid 2000s, right? You're going to make $2,400, hoping that the AC doesn't break down, that the tenant doesn't move out, that you don't have to put all that back into the place when they leave, right? I introduce 1 person to the company that caps, I make $2,800.
That's it. That's simple.
Yeah. So you have a choice. Would you rather buy a house and create a passive income, and have all that liability and stress, or would you rather introduce somebody to the company and make more money and have no liability and stress?
Right.
Simple.
And by the way, what I love about the model is not only about the recruiting. You can only sell real estate, but having the option long term. You in your first year and a half, you didn't do any of that. You came because of the real estate opportunity, and then they're growing. You mentioned in the other call, for a year and a half, you didn't do any recruiting for this model. You started
Yeah,
doing
I did a little bit, but like I said, I think after a year and a half, I had about 120, 130, 148. I don't remember the exact number. But the real boost is when I actually committed to it.
Right.
And all I do, I don't cold call people. I reach out to people I know.
Right.
I have a lot of friends. I reach out to my friends. Hey, you should check it out. No, I'm not interested. Okay, bye. Have a nice life. But someday they're going to ask me how I'm living this life. Right. And I'm going to say, I tried to tell you so.
Right. So Mitch, just to close it up, because I know you have to go. If I were a broker and I ask you, Mitch, the two main reasons you would tell me I should join under my own brand, I'm not losing my identity, right? What would be the two main reasons you give Daniel and I as brokers, for example, the brokers that are listening or watching right now?
Yeah, so I'll put liability and stress together as one word, and scalability.
Right. Is that simple?
Leverage, exit plan. There's so many words I have $80,000 in stock now because of what I've done. Mm-hmm. I think it's actually more than that because the stock's gone crazy lately, right?
Yeah.
So, to me, I think you have to take a really good look in the mirror as a broker and really make a determination is, am I really happy?
Right.
And you know what? You know how many times you get at life?
Right.
And what I learned the last couple of years of doing the switch, and by the way, it was the hardest business decision of my life.
Why?
I was giving up my baby. As much as I hated it, it was my baby. I built it.
Yeah. What people thought when you were thinking about doing this transition?
Everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody. I can't believe you gave up Tropical Realty. I go, yeah. And at the time, I'm like, I can't believe I did it either. But honestly, 3 years later, in 3 years, I built a retirement. And the beauty, and I'll leave you on this one, the beauty of this is if I die today, this just shifts to my family, right? My wife's licensed, my daughter's licensed. They have to be licensed because of the referral fees. But this just shifts to my family. Everything that I'm doing today is going to take care of my family for a long time. That's the beauty of this.
Daniel, any other question?
No.
I think you put it so simple, man. It's just about recruiting. It's about retaining. It's about stability. And more important, you said that the burden of having that liability, the burden of having that legal responsibility under your shoulders and the mechanics behind being a broker, making 70, 80. If you're making $150,000, netting $150,000 as a broker, you're doing an amazing job. But there's an opportunity cost right there because you're investing at least 40, 50 hours as a broker. And you're a much better salesperson as a real estate agent where you can be making way more than that. Yep. Right? So any final thoughts, Mitch?
Just open mind. Keep your mind open. Take a look at your options. Don't say no without knowing what you're saying no to. I love that line because a lot of people just say no. It's kind of like what we do to our wives, right? Nope, not doing that. Don't say no without looking at it and give it some serious thought. And anybody can always reach out to me and ask me questions because as I said, I'm an open book. I find I get to change lives now. What an amazing life I have. Changing lives.
Thank you, Mitch.
Mitch, if anybody want to reach out to you, your website.
Just my phone number is 321-258-4150. And my email is mitch@mitchrealty.com.
That's an open book. Just give me your phone number. That's very simple. Daniel, any other questions?
No, that's more than enough. Thank you very much for your time, Mitch. We really appreciate your time. Great information, great insights for any broker right now. So,
my pleasure, guys. You take care of yourselves.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
All right.